Welcome to the deep dive. Okay, so today we're exploring a really powerful emotion, something many of us, grapple with in our homes, anger in parenting.
hmm
It can feel just overwhelming, right? Even damaging when it really takes hold.
That's absolutely right. And our deep dive today, it's based on some really insightful excerpts from a book called The Anger Habit in Parenting,
Okay,
a new approach to understanding and resolving family conflict. It's by Dr. Carl Semmelroth. He's a psychologist, over 30 years in private practice, strong background in child development.
gotcha. So our mission today is really to pull out the crucial insights, maybe some surprising facts from Dr. Semmelroth's work.
Yeah.
We want to help you understand where anger comes from in family dynamics
Yeah.
and, give you some actionable strategies. Find ways towards a calmer, more connected home life.
Exactly.
And we're not just talking about like the big blow-ups,
No.
but also those subtle ways, the often unrecognized ways. Anger can become this quiet habit.
That's the key, the habit part.
So the book hits us right away with this kind of surprising idea
Yeah.
that anger isn't just this sudden explosion,
Right.
but actually a chain reaction that builds up. That feels a bit counterintuitive, doesn't it, to how many of us feel it?
It absolutely can, yeah. The core idea here is that angry feelings and thoughts prepare us to carry out angry behaviors.
Prepare us. How so?
Well, think about it like this. A father feels angry, say, at his son's sloppy lawn mowing job. His body literally starts preparing for a physical confrontation,
Wow.
releasing chemicals, heart speeds up, blood flows more to the limbs. It's a very primal response, really.
So it's physical first. That kicks off the whole sequence.
Yep.
And what's really striking is how these seemingly small irritations can just escalate
Yeah.
into something much bigger.
Precisely. And the book illustrates this really powerfully with something called the anger chain.
Okay.
It shows this progression. Starts with initial feelings, maybe just irritated, then moves to behaviors like angry facial expressions or critical comments, and it can go all the way to its most extreme, tragic ends, which the book actually names as murder or suicide.
That's incredibly stark.
It is. It's a reminder of how powerful this chain can be if it's not checked. And the crucial point for us, for parents, is that any thought or feeling along the right side of the table carries with it the tendency to go further along the anger chain.
So one step leads to the next.
Exactly. Like, the book describes a parent, Jack, who started with sort of mildly angry interventions, but it regressed to slapping
Right.
and feelings of self-importance that can fuel what the book calls righteous power, maybe leading to physical threats.
That makes me think, though, this isn't just about those really extreme cases you mentioned.
No, not at all.
It's about how anger can become this destructive habit
Yeah.
that evolves over years of parenting.
Exactly right. The sources really emphasize that how a person's anger escalates in one situation, maybe with a rude driver.
Yeah, we've all been there.
That's likely to mirror how their anger escalates over years as a parent. It's not just about people who have, quote, a very compact anger chain and immediately jump to physical attack.
Right. That's like saying only someone in a coma has a drink problem.
Precisely. It's a spectrum. And the book actually includes exercises like, what is my anger chain like? It encourages you, the listener, to try and recognize these patterns in your own feelings and behaviors around anger.
Okay. Now let's explore a major root cause the book really unpacks, this struggle for control.
Ah, yes. Control.
So many parents, myself included sometimes, intuitively believe we need to control our children's behavior. But these sources offer a really different view, almost counterintuitive.
This is absolutely fundamental to the whole approach in the book. It states all human beings want control of their own behaviors.
Okay, makes sense.
So when parents try to substitute their wills for the children's wills, well, conflict is pretty much inevitable.
Yeah.
The book puts it very directly. Parents' anger is a natural result of the conflict with children over control of childhood behaviors.
And they use a really relatable example, don't they, to highlight this contradiction. It involves toilet training. Karen and Sammy.
Yes, that's a great illustration. So Karen wants Sammy to self-control his body functions, right?
Yeah, that's the goal of toilet training.
But her method is trying to control his self-control, which is, well, it's impossible. No one else can control Sammy's body functions for him.
You can't make someone self-control.
Exactly. And this leads to a really critical insight in the book. Control of children's self-control amounts to stamping out children's self-control. You're actually undermining the very thing you want them to develop.
Wow. Okay, and if we fall into that trap then of trying to control, what kind of behavior does that actually create in our kids? Does it even work in the long run?
Well, the book argues parents often don't truly control the behavior, but they can make it involuntary.
Involuntary.
Meaning children might appear to do what's right, but it's out of fear. Or they act like good family members just to avoid criticism. Internally, they feel coerced, forced.
Okay.
And the most sort of bitter result of this, the book says, is that these children make it appear to their parents and others that they are living a voluntary and self-determined life, when really, most of what they do feels involuntary.
That's quite sad, actually.
It is. And these children might also go elsewhere to learn what to expect of themselves, to friends, maybe gangs, TV, music, looking for guidance outside the family.
So if all that controlling behavior just creates this, like, coerced dynamic, what's the alternative? What does the book suggest? How do we influence without falling into that control trap?
The alternative proposed is management with consistent rules, which the book sees as unshakable expectations.
Unshakable expectations. I
Yeah.
like that.
This approach aims to influence a child's voluntary behavior, and crucially, it keeps communication intact. The rules in this view need to be objective and forcible, meaning the parent has to be willing and able to actually be present to enforce them, not just, shouting orders from another room.
Okay, so it's less about obey me because I'm the boss and more like this is how our family works. This is the expectation.
Precisely. Think about teaching a kid to ride a bike. You don't punish them every time they fall off, right?
Yeah, of course not.
You persist in the expectation that they will learn. So the book suggests, for example, consistently saying the rule is when a child refuses to go to school, even if that means you miss work or you have to endure a huge tantrum.
That requires a lot of patience.
It does. But that consistency helps children understand these definite expectations. And ultimately, that's what fosters genuine self-control, not imposed control.
Okay, now let's dive into some of those subtle ways anger can show up. Ways we might not even recognize as anger tools in parenting. The book points out some patterns that are really easy to miss.
Yeah, these are important.
Okay, first up, the sources talk about how parents can use their own unhappiness, their distress, as a tool to control kids. The example was Mona crying over Jimmy's bad report card.
Yes, that's a really common, often unconscious pattern. Mona might use her tears, maybe guilt trips, recounting all her sacrifices, trying to make Jimmy feel bad enough to change his behavior.
Right, we've seen that dynamic.
The key distinction the book makes here is between distress that's genuine communication, like yelling ouch if someone steps on your foot,
Okay.
and distress that's used as a method for control, where the underlying goal, maybe unconsciously, is to make the other person suffer or feel guilty. The book even starkly points out that suicide can be seen, in some contexts, as the ultimate expression of angry distress.
Wow, that's a heavy thought.
Yeah.
So the argument then is if you stop using your own unhappiness as a weapon, as a form of anger, you actually free yourself.
Yes, precisely. The benefit is twofold. First, you relieve your children of the burden of being responsible for your unhappiness, which is huge for them. And second, you relieve yourself from the burden of suffering that was meant to punish your children. It lifts a weight off everyone.
So how do you approach things instead?
It means approaching children with positive expectations, rather than, constantly fear-mongering about their future. It's about tackling problems directly, head-on, but as the book says, without trying to communicate to your child that your life and the child's life are in danger of being ruined.
Dealing with the issue, not the catastrophe.
Exactly.
Okay. Next, the deep dive uncovers how parents might use withholding family inclusion as an anger tool, sometimes without even realizing it. The example of Philip and his father reacting to undone chores was quite telling.
Yes. So Philip's father says something like, I don't know who you are these days, Phil.
Ouch.
Right. It triggers Philip's deep-seated fear of not belonging. The sources state very clearly, feeling outside the moral community is painful. And that moral community is essentially the family's sense of belonging, shared values.
So it's not just disapproval, it's like questioning their place.
Exactly. It taps into something really ancient, the punishment of banishment. The book also cautions that parents who habitually disparage others, and it gives examples like lazy welfare bums or unethical Jews, just as illustrations from the text,
Okay.
can implicitly make their own children fear being tossed into those same waste bins if they don't conform. It's a chilling idea, that comparison.
It really is. It sounds like our disapproval can accidentally question a child's whole status in the family, like saying, you might not belong here anymore. So what's the alternative? How do we avoid that destructive pattern?
The alternative offered is fostering inclusive talk about all people. This helps children feel unconditionally welcomed into the family's moral community. It's irrevocable.
Okay.
Then disapproval shifts. It's not you are acting like someone I reject, but rather I insist that you act like this because you are part of this community and these are our standards.
You belong, therefore these are the expectations.
Precisely. It also highlights that children, like all family members, should have rights and privileges, including things like choosing their own friends and having those friends respected by the family.
And practically, how do we build that inclusion?
Well, the book suggests practical things, like working with children on chores, doing lawn work together, or remodeling and involving them in family decision-making. These turn tasks into cooperative opportunities that affirm their identity as a member of a moral community.
Makes sense. Okay, another big challenge leading to parental anger, dealing with childhood self-importance. The book introduces Junior, demanding expensive basketball shoes, acting snottier and snottier, as they put it.
Right, and the book explains that over-servicing your teenage children's wants as if they were needs can definitely fuel this self-importance, where kids start to feel owed everything they want.
Okay.
Often the issue actually starts with the parents maybe confusing their own wants and needs, like, is not being able to afford the car I want the same as having no transportation at all?
Good distinction.
That confusion can then get projected onto their children's wants versus needs.
So where does the parent's anger come into play with a kid like Junior?
Your anger, the book explains, often arises because of how the demands are made. It's not just that they want something.
Right.
It's that instead of, say, asking or hoping, they come right out and demand what they want. The problem isn't the desire itself, but the underlying assumption that self-important children aren't owed what they think they are owed. It's that entitlement that really sparks the anger.
Gotcha. So how should parents handle these demanding situations without just getting angry themselves? What's the guidance?
The solution proposed is to approach these teenage demands through a really clear lens, distinguishing needs from wants. The book argues children don't need to learn loving as a duty. Instead, parents should try to recognize and appeal to their child's natural inclination for unselfishness and a giving form of love, and then actively help them differentiate between what they genuinely need for a healthy, functioning life versus what they simply want, guiding them back towards that inherent potential for unselfishness.
Interesting. Okay, our deep dive also revealed something quite profound. How genuine caring can somehow morph into emotional deception over time. The book used Joey and his tricycle accident right at the start of Chapter 7.
Yes. The sources explain that, look, when kids are infants, caring obviously requires physical control, safety.
Sure.
But as they become toddlers, parents often find it's just easier, maybe faster, to influence behavior using emotional language. Fear, anger, maybe even a manipulative kind of if you love me angle, rather than patiently explaining the reasons behind rules or requests. And that's where the slippery slope begins.
Slippery slope how?
Well, as caring for the safety, welfare, and happiness of children meets opposition from them, a control struggle develops involving yelling, threats, and worse. That's how well-intended caring can slowly turn into verbal attack. Emotional manipulation.
But what's the real cost? What's the big loss when we rely on that kind of emotional fear-mongering?
The biggest loss, the book argues, is our credibility when it comes to realistic fear about genuine dangers.
Okay.
If you frighten your children with emotional language in order to control them, your emotional credibility for real dangers will be lost. They'll just start tuning out the parental emotionality altogether.
They become numb to it.
Exactly. And the book has this really stark warning. It says, the demons we summon to frighten our children will often visit us at 3 in the morning. It's a powerful image of those long-term anxieties coming back to haunt us.
That is a chilling thought. Wow. So how do we replace that? How do we swap fear-mongering for something effective, something genuinely loving and built on confidence, not control?
It comes down to replacing fear-mongering with caring confidence. Caring confidence.
Yeah. It means consciously shifting back to conscious caring love and away from relying on conscious fears to manipulate. It means being calm, honest, genuinely helpful in discipline, reassuring kids about mistakes, and fundamentally recognizing, as the book puts it, if children don't need help, then there is no need for parents. Our core role is to assist and guide, not to frighten into submission.
Okay, let's shift gears slightly to some very practical insights now, starting with something that drives many parents a little crazy. Children's attention spans.
Yes. Attention, a big one.
The book talks about how attention is controlled, right, in two ways.
That's right. By external changes, a flashing light, a sudden noise, something grabs you from the outside.
Yeah.
And by internal engagement, like when you're totally absorbed in reading a book or working on a project, the conflict happens when those external things constantly derail our internal focus. Right. Like Mickey in the source material, easily distracted by the TV, the tablecloth pattern, a toy, when he's supposed to be doing something else. Why does he struggle so much to pay attention or finish simple tasks?
Well, the book links it pretty directly to passive entertainment, think TV, computer games. They are, quote, expertly designed to guide children's attention with outside cues. They require no self-regulation of attention by children. So hours and hours of this exposure literally trains children to let events in front of them guide their attention. It weakens their ability to self-regulate focus for other tasks like homework or chores.
And then how does our own anger or even just impatience make that distraction problem even worse?
Yeah, this is key. When parents yell or rush kids, it actually makes the children more vigilant to external stuff. They're scanning their environment on edge, waiting for the next outburst.
Oh, wow. So it backfires.
Totally backfires. It paradoxically increases their distraction and makes concentration even harder, which leads to that vicious cycle. The child's delayed response makes the parent louder, angrier, which sometimes causes the child to just freeze up entirely, overwhelmed.
So understanding that cycle, what are the actual strategies the book offers? How can we help kids build that attention muscle?
Two key things come through strongly. First, pretty straightforward. Limit children's access to passive entertainment such as TV, computer games, and spectator activities. Reduce the training in being externally guided.
Okay, less screen time.
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah.
And second, crucially, learn to repeat directions calmly to children and wait for their responses. Remember, a child's nervous system is incredibly complex. Think about it, dwarfing the U.S. economy in its complexity, as the book says.
Wow.
It just needs time to process requests. So patience, calm repetition, encouragement. That's what builds internal attention regulation, not anger.
Patience and calm repetition.
Oh.
Okay. Finally, our deep dive offers this really powerful framework for transforming parenting from the inside out. It's about cultivating specific, deliberate attitudes.
Yes. Because fundamentally, the anger habit can be seen as an adversarial attitude. And as the book states very simply, caring and anger just do not mix well.
Right.
So it offers 4 key attitudes to actively cultivate instead. Ready?
Let's hear them.
Okay. 1, an enlightened, loving attitude. This isn't about always making kids feel better. It's a readiness to care for children's welfare.
Welfare over feelings sometimes.
Exactly. It means being able to say no without getting angry, even when kids demand things based on those self-important expectations we talked about. Like saying no to that expensive gadget, not out of spite, but because you're prioritizing their long-term well-being or family values. The book warns that parents who always put feelings first risk raising tyrants.
Okay. Number 2.
2, an optimistic attitude. This means a readiness to persist in our expectations for our children's behaviors, even when, frankly, the kids give you no reason to be optimistic at that moment.
Holding on to hope even when it's tough.
It's an unwavering belief in their underlying capacity to learn and grow despite current struggle.
What is that?
3, a civil attitude. This is a readiness to believe in our children and a persistence in our expectations that their behaviors will change for the better, especially when no such evidence is apparent.
Believing in the potential.
Yes, and crucially, it means avoiding what the book calls denial as a righteous punishment. You know, that kind of cold shoulder, silent treatment, withdrawal.
Yeah.
That makes a child feel worthless instead of just addressing the specific behavior that needs to change.
Gotcha. And the last one, number 4.
4, an enrichment attitude toward freedom. This one's interesting. True freedom, the book argues, comes with increases in opportunity, not just license to do whatever you want.
Okay.
So parents' persistent expectations like attending school, learning skills, behaving constructively, they don't violate a child's freedom. They actually provide freedom by opening up future opportunities.
That's a great reframe.
Yeah.
Setting expectations is providing freedom.
Exactly.
What really shifts my perspective here is that these aren't just, nice ideas. The book stresses their practical shifts, things that require dedicated practice, like learning any new skill.
Absolutely. These attitudes aren't passive states. They are skills you actively develop and practice. And cultivating them is what helps you parent without anger and foster that calm, happy, and nurturing home for everyone.
So wrapping this up,
Mhm.
what does this whole deep dive into the anger habit in parenting really mean for you listening right now?
Mm.
We've seen that changing the family dynamic isn't so much about controlling our kids,
No.
but much more about understanding our own reactions, our own chains, and consciously cultivating these different attitudes.
Yeah, we've learned that recognizing that insidious anger chain is key. Shifting from trying to coerce and control towards setting consistent, unshakable expectations.
Wait,
Abandoning using our own unhappiness as a weapon. Ensuring that family inclusion feels truly unconditional. Distinguishing wants from needs, both for ourselves and our kids. And really fostering that caring confidence instead of relying on emotional deception or fear. These are the crucial steps.
and remembering those practical bits too, like having patience with attention spans, limiting that passive entertainment. Those are real, tangible ways you can support this deeper shift in your parenting.
Definitely. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, it really suggests that true, lasting parental influence doesn't come from force or fear.
Right.
It comes from a consistent, unwavering belief in our children's innate capacity for self-control and trusting their natural inclination towards what is ultimately good and unselfish.
It really does all come back to that trust and belief, doesn't it? So this raises a final important question for you to maybe just mull over after listening. If changing ourselves is really the key to changing our children's experience, what one anger habit or maybe an underlying attitude we discussed today will you choose to examine and begin to shift starting today to create a more nurturing, positive environment for your family?